What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? Coming to us from the UK, we have comic book artist Marc Laming here. You've seen his work all over the place. He's done work for both Marvel and DC, Dynamite, IDW, Image, Dark Horse, and Boom Studios. Today, we're going to discuss his awesome Valiant work where he collaborates with Tim Seeley, who's also been on our show. How are you, Mark? Thank you so much
I'm
for
good,
joining
thank
us.
you. I'm obviously better than you because I didn't have to get up at stupid o'clock this morning.
It's okay. It's all right. What's the weather like over there in the UK? Is it incredibly
We
cold?
just got through snowstorms, so that was fun for a week, and it's now just stupid cold.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I just moved from Hawaii to El Paso in Texas, so from like island paradise to the desert, and it's weird here because it gets really, really hot, but then it gets incredibly cold, like that. So adjusting. um, so when I'm going to start with kind of a general question for you.
Sure.
When did you first realize that you wanted to do sequential art, or I guess comics as it's known?
Oh, I probably wanted to do it from about the age of 6 onwards. Um, Comics came to me very early. My parents always had lots of picture books and reading books around the house, and I was that precocious child that read everything from the cereal box through to my mum's prescriptions, and it was like, what's this, me? You know, I was that child. But comics just were the best of all worlds. It was words and pictures and exciting things blowing up, and it was great stuff.
Awesome. Do you remember what
And
your
also,
first?
when I was growing up, we had a huge children's market for comics. I mean, there were hundreds in the UK every week. Most of them are humour anthology titles, but you have adventure comics too. But they cost pennies, so you could buy loads every week and be entertained all the way through to the end of the week.
Is there a specific title that you were especially fond of at that age?
I loved a thing called TV Countdown, which was basically all the Jerry Anderson stuff, like Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet in there. So there's lots of TV stuff, but it was that was the stuff that really sort of tickled me at the time.
Cool. So I'm not an artist, but I feel like Bloodshot would be an especially intimidating character to draw since he's composed of billions of nanites. Obviously, you're going to have to physically deconstruct and then reassemble him more than other characters, like,
Yeah.
say, Darth Vader. What has that process been like for you?
Well, it was absolutely fantastic because it meant that I had to really up my anatomy game because I mean he's walking around with next to nothing on for most of the time, and Tim kept on blowing bits of him off as well. So
Yes.
there's quite a lot of bits where he's lost half of his torso, or he hasn't got an arm, or he's missing an eye. So you got to get really good at doing searches on the internet for things you never want to look at.
Oh geez. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you have to look at like just an eye. What does just an eye look like?
Yeah, or what does a horrendous accident look like? That's the sort of thing you end up having to look at.
That sounds traumatizing.
Yes, I'm sure if the FBI ever went through my search history from doing comics research, I would be on every list going.
Oh no. So I'm wondering about Tim's scripts. We've had him on the show, and we love Tim. He's an awesome guy. But as far as his scripts go, are they? We know there's like various different styles of writing a comic strip
Yeah.
script where someone could either be very, very specific or leave almost like some vagueness for the artist to sort of contribute. How would you say it was? Did you feel like you had wiggle room regarding the
Yeah,
narrative itself, or?
well, not within the narrative, but in terms of layout and how I paced the page, that was all down to me. Tim's, because he's an artist himself, is a very generous writer in that he'll basically just give you the amount of panels on the page and the panel descriptions. Occasionally, he'll say this needs more real estate than the other ones do, but otherwise,
Mm,
it's up to me to do the layout or choose which bit of the panel is most important or what requires most real estate. So,
okay.
like I say, he's very generous in that you're not feeling like you are a hired wrist. You are actually, a contributor in the job.
That's awesome. How familiar were you with the character before this job?
I I read the original series, probably the first 10 issues of that when those came out, because I owned a comic book store at the time, and they sold very well for
That
us.
shi
So
that
it was stuff.
shiny the shiny
Oh yeah,
cover by Barry Windsor Smith, I think.
that was right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and all of the variants and all of the mail-ins and everything, and yeah, no, we didn't have boxes and boxes of those afterwards.
right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was my first introduction, and then when I left the shop, I stopped reading everything, and went back to sort of the stuff that appealed to me more, which was more your Vertigo type titles. And then when the Valiant came out, that was probably the first time that I revisited the character, and then went and picked all the other stuff up like Salvation, etc.
Oh yeah, that was uh the Lemire run, I think.
Yes,
That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was really good too. I love what Valiant has done since 2012. I never really got into the older Valiant. But I actually definitely it's on my list of things to check out because of how much I like the current runs.
It's a
Uh,
very, very different thing. I think when Warren was putting together that original universe, they had such a strong identity in mind um, when it came back, and I think it's been massively successful. All of those titles stand really well on their own.
Absolutely, yeah, and it avoids a lot of the typical superhero tropes in favor of like more complex, more I guess deeper storytelling.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's been,
uh,
I mean, something like Divinity. My God, that's absolutely mad stuff.
whew. Oh yeah,
Especially that first mini. That's the sort of thing you have to put down and think about it for a while, and then come back to it.
I really like that. I really like any all of Josh Dysart's stuff, especially like Imperium and all that stuff too. Um, so in Bloodshot number 7 and 8, we're introduced to some giant, horrifying monsters.
Yes.
You were very effective in making them appear formidable. What was your inspiration for those designs? Was it like a kaiju kind of thing, or
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's lots of Japanese guys in rubber suits
right?
was where I was coming from, but just making them a bit more scary. But I've always loved the kaiju movies, and even things like Pacific Rim. That
Oh yeah.
get good time in my house. So that's the sort of thing where I was coming from. It's that and finding lots of horrible creatures that live on volcanic deep sea um, water outlets. The ones that have got like a million teeth and are about
Mm.
this big, but they look hugely frightening when you blow them right up.
Oh yeah, definitely. This isn't a planned question, but I just thought of this. I'm curious. Did you see the trailer for Godzilla versus King Kong?
Yes, fantastic. Can't wait.
Yes, I really can't wait. Man, when King Kong throws that right hook, nails Godzilla right in the face.
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely. Looks awesome.
it
I
does.
saw the last Godzilla movie at the drive-in in Ohio, and that was the perfect place to see it.
What was the what made it the perfect place? Was it just
Oh,
the
just
audience? Or?
because it was the first time I'd been to a drive-in theatre as well, but it was the
Ah,
idea of seeing a really schlocky movie at a drive-in was just perfect.
oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely what it comes like that. The monster film is definitely made for the drive-in, I think. Um, So this is a kind of a speculative question. What would be a dream creative team for you to work on with a series or character that you haven't had the chance to do yet?
It's mostly now people I want to revisit working with rather than people I haven't worked with yet. If you see what I mean, I've been really lucky. I've worked with like Jerry Duggan, Greg Pak,
Mm.
James Robinson, Gabriel Hardman, and Corinna Becco, Colin Bunn. Who else have I worked with? Bill Willingham. I've worked with people. Jeff Parker. My God, I mean, he's just so good. And I'm currently working on a graphic novel with Christopher Sabella that's really good. I mean, like I said, I've just been really lucky with the people I've worked with. Alex DeCampi, I've done really good stuff with. Like I said, I've been really lucky.
Those are
I mean,
all
I'd like to work with
awesome people.
Gabriel and Corinna again because we're good friends and have very similar things that we like. We've put occasional pitches together that haven't flown yet with other publishers, but I'm sure we'll come up with something that eventually will be like greenlit somewhere.
Awesome.
I mean, I really want to work with James Robinson again. I mean, he's great to work with.
He did the Invaders. The Invaders.
Yeah, I did the Invaders, Fantastic Four, and Uncanny Avengers with him, and he's just a great writer. He's one of those ones who is much more specific with his scripts, and there's a bit of you which goes, he can't possibly know what's right on this page, and if you deviate, you go, yeah, no, he was right. He was.
So, do you prefer that to having more of an open-ended script, or?
I like both. They're all a challenge. I mean, even working almost Marvel method, which I've done with Nick Spencer, is very challenging because you're basically doing more of the storytelling because you get like what happened. You just get a paragraph about what happens on the page.
So people still do the Marvel method. I thought that was just.
Oh yeah, no, it still happens a lot. I mean, I think Nick does most of his writing like that.
Huh. Okay. Cool. That's awesome. I remember I've read about like the old Stan and Jack dynamic, but
it's really weird to work on because to start with, you're just like, well, I've no idea where I'm going with this, and then suddenly you realise that it's your job to sort the mess out. Do you know what I mean? So it's
right. That's cool though. That is the epitome of sequential storytelling.
Yeah.
Telling it through the art. So you mentioned Greg Pak. So we're gonna move away from Bloodshot just for a bit. I'm curious. I happen to be a tremendous James Bond fan as well. I was wondering which. Oh, great. This interview just got a whole lot longer. I'm just kidding. But yeah, which Bond actor did you take inspiration from in the series when you were illustrating? To me, it looked kind of like an amalgamation of George Lazenby and Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, it's spot on with Lazenby because I think he's the underrated Bond.
I 100% agree.
I love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think it's one of the best Bond movies, and it's just such a shame that he messed it up for himself because we wouldn't have had all of those slightly embarrassing Sean movies, and we wouldn't have had years of Roger Moore winking at the camera. We'd have had somebody really equipped to do Bond, I think.
Mm-hmm. I watched there on Hulu. I think there's like a biopic about him, where they explain that like he had a lot of conflict with the production staff after the movie was released, and doing the press tour, he like grew a beard, and they were just so fed up they didn't want to use him anymore.
Yeah, I think he had lots of bad advice. People were saying, you don't want to be typecast, and really he should be going, I want to be typecast.
Right, yes. I love that one.
It's like, dude, you're an Australian stuntman. It was a model at best. You're doing well. You're James Bond. Get it together.
You're James Bond. Right, exactly. That movie had that theme song, the dun 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 dun, and yeah, is an exciting one. I can't watch the Roger Moore ones anymore. There's something about his style of Bond, just not for me.
Yeah, you see, and that was my childhood was him as James Bond, and I thought they were great. But it's a bit like the Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies. I can't watch those anymore either. I think there was like 10-year-old me thought both of those things were fantastic. And unfortunately, I'm not 10 anymore.
Right. Yeah. No. Understandable. Do you like the Craig stuff?
Oh yeah, Daniel Craig's a fantastic Bond. I mean, I tend to think of the original Broccoli Bonds as one thing, and then he restarted Bond, and it's a different kettle of fish altogether from Sean Connery's, but stylistically and everything, I think.
Yeah, agreed. So your style. One thing I noticed, just kind of going through your body of work, your style is very flexible. In the Rinse, which is your 2012 series with Gary Phillips, there's like a very noir kind of grounded look. But then if we get into your more Marvel and DC stuff, you seem very much in your element, with people throwing punches and blowing things up. Do you have a preference?
I like both. I mean, I quite like people to be sitting around talking and then throwing punches. So it's
Right on.
both are good with me. But when I did the Rinse, it was my first work back after having taken a 10-year break to go off teaching. And I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do in terms of drawing, but I knew how I wanted to approach that particular story, which was to, do you know the British movie Get Carter, Michael
I
Caine?
I've not seen Get Carter.
Um, or maybe the Ipcris File, or I wanted it to feel like a late 60s, early 70s Michael Caine movie, in that it was very grounded. You'd see him pouring cereal out in the morning rather than eating caviar. Do you know what I mean? It was
Right. It
that
gave
kind
me
of thing.
it gave me like I don't know, like old kind of not old but like 90s detective type movie vibes. Like almost like an old Quentin Tarantino kind of thing.
Oh,
Like
that's good. I'm a big fan of his, so it's nice to know that was coming through.
awesome. Yeah, it's good though. I definitely to whoever's watching, definitely go back and check out The Rinse. It's on Comixology and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Gary's a great writer. I mean, his prose books are fantastic. I don't know why he's not doing more comics, because he one understands comics and he writes really good thrillers. And,
Yeah.
and I came away almost knowing how to launder money after doing that book. So it was kind of he does his research.
That's cool. Yeah, it also kind of reminded me of the Ed Brubaker Criminal series, which is
Oh
I think
yeah,
in
yeah,
this
definitely.
similar genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Ed's as well, and obviously of Sean Phillips's work on that. He's
Oh yeah.
one of the
Definitely,
people whose work I absolutely adore.
definitely a good team. I'd like to see you do something with Ed Brubaker. I think you two would be a very good fit for a title.
Back when I was at Vertigo, we were trying to put, or something, or Shelley Bond was trying to put something together back then. But um, I think it was one of those things where it's like, well, we have an Ed book and we have this book, and we need to find another book that isn't another Ed book, if you see what I mean. Because you
Right.
had 100 Bullets as well at that point. So it was kind of like, is Vertigo becoming the noir crime place, you know?
Oh right. Yeah. I, I never thought of it like that, but I guess I can see why they would want to try to. Well, I don't know. Maybe they would want to have a very specific identity, or yeah, I don't know
I
who
mean,
makes those
there
kinds
was
of
a point
decisions.
where I almost did Fables. So it was, which would have been a completely different ball game, you know?
Right. Yeah. Um. So, have you ever been reading, or so right now it's I know it's I don't know what the quarantine situation is like in the UK. Right now we're still very much dealing with the COVID-19 virus.
Oh, yeah, no, we're fully locked down again now. You can't, it's essential shops only. You can only go out for an hour. You
Okay.
know, we're back under martial law again at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's it's unfortunate but necessary
Oh,
state of
I
affairs.
agree.
Yeah.
I'm just going stir crazy. That's all it is.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you, what have you been outside of work and outside of your art? What have you been nerding out on, and I guess doing to occupy your time during this
Um,
pandemic?
Reading a lot. So I read quite a lot of French comic books. So I've been reading just about everything that a guy called Jordi Lefebvre draws, because his stuff's just amazing. I've read now all of the Valerian books, because those are fantastic as well. Did you see the
I,
Valerian movie when that came out?
I didn't, only because the reviews were bad.
Oh, it's great. Ignore the
Is it
reviews. It's like the Fifth Element, but on acid. So it's great.
cool? Yeah, I've actually been reading French comic books too. I read the In Call.
Oh, isn't it good?
It's so good. I wish that it's like I want to spread the gospel of that book to everyone because I feel like not enough people in the U.S. are reading it. Yeah. Anyway, before we start to wind down, I just want to ask you, do you have any other projects that you'd like to discuss right now? Anything coming down the
Well,
pipeline, or
I'm working on two graphic novels at the moment. One is, um, like I said, with Christopher Sabella, but we haven't announced it yet, so I can't really say more than it's a sci-fi graphic novel, and it's really good.
he
And I'm
is outstanding?
working on another one with my old editor from James Bond, um, Nate Cosby, which is an espionage book, but it's not really. It's more Gilmore Girls than it is espionage. But
Okay.
that's lots of fun. If you like dogs, you'll like that book.
I do like dogs. I'm a fan of dogs, and I'm a fan of espionage. So if those two things are combined, then count me in.
And I'm doing a 10-page story with Stephanie Phillips, who's doing everything great at the moment over at DC, for the Octobriana book that's coming out shortly. So
Oh,
that,
nice.
which is set in World War II, which I'm quite looking forward to drawing. Lots of Russian and German dog fights and things like that in there. That will be lots of fun.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm excited about all that. I am a big fan of your work,
Well,
and
thank you very much.
I'm just excited to read more of it. So, ladies, gentlemen, NBs, that was Marc Laming. And you can this will when by the time this gets posted, it'll probably be like a week, maybe a week and a half from now, because we have to edit around our day jobs and stuff. But
Yeah.
hey, I just want to thank you very much for joining us.
No, it's been my
And
pleasure. It's been a great interview. Thank you.
yep, and I hope you're taking care, staying safe, and hopefully we get to talk to you again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you ever so much.
All right, take care, Mark.
If you want to hear interviews from industry pros, get first looks, and have access to endless comic content, wake up. Please wake up. You're in a coma. Your mother misses you.